Justice League. So today we brought a guest with us, Dustin Moore, American dietitian, Batman enthusiast. Here he is. There he is. All right.
Hey guys.
So
we upgraded to another.
So Justice League, the long anticipated movie of the year. To me, I've been so excited.
It's my.
Call me out, call me a DC fanboy, I don't care, but I've been so excited to see this. What were your guys' first impressions walking out of the theater right then?
Okay, the first thing I did is I felt like taking a knee and doing this, and like looking up at heaven and just saying thank you, because in the same sense, I have just been excited for this, and I was so disappointed from Batman vs. Superman. I just wanted them to pull out a win. I wanted a big W, and I was literally in the theater, just sitting there, and I just said, thank you, Lord, for making this entertaining. That was my first impression.
All right.
I was happy.
What about you, Tom?
Well, Justice League. Just like Paul, this is my second most anticipated film of the year. My first impression of this movie was it was a good movie. It was better than Batman v Superman. Just like Dustin was talking about, I was let down by that movie because of a lot of editing problems, a lot of, nothing was making sense in the movie. With this one, Justice League, I was thoroughly entertained. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, the action scene was good. We'll get into all the good and the bad in a minute. My wife and I went to see this. Even she doesn't like DC movies, but even she came out of that theater and said, that was very good. That was very entertainment. And that's a win. Now, this movie was directed by Zack Snyder, starring who? Who was?
Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa. I think it is perfectly casted.
What was your impression?
My impression, I loved it. I walked out of the theater and I was just happy that it was what it was, so to speak. I was just happy with the outcome. And this movie does have its issues.
Okay.
Not to say that I really enjoyed it.
Well, before we get into the bad, because no movie is perfect, as we know when we do these reviews. Let's talk about some of the good things. Dustin, what are some good things about this movie that you find very entertaining, or that you find that it worked well in this movie?
Okay, so the good things that I loved is all the elements, the few elements that they had, which were good so far, they had in this film. Gal Gadot rocked it and owned it as Wonder Woman. I liked the new characters that they introduced as well and gave them a bigger part. It took me a long time to figure out whether or not I liked Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Right.
But by the end, I really did. For some reason, he just really seemed to play the role really well. I really like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think he does an excellent job as Batman, and the character that they had with him, it really seemed to me that they were modeling the Dark Knight Returns saga, that old comic story arc, and you could really just feel that you could see that he was like the ailing member of the group almost, and that he was trying to pull things together, and he was really undercut compared to everybody else with their powers and abilities, but he still made like a lot of contributions. Those were my favorite parts as far as the cast go. I thought the casting was really well done. I thought everybody did a great job together.
What about you, Paul?
I really liked the characters themselves. I first thought it was going to be really cluttered, and it wasn't going to have like enough time set apart for each character, but I was really impressed with how they did that. At times you may have forgotten where Aquaman was, but then he would return. But all in all, I feel like everybody got a fair enough amount of screen time.
Yeah, that was good.
Time,
The screen time was
I
good.
agree with that.
And another thing I really loved was the simplicity of it. The whole thing was these characters coming together to fight one enemy.
Yeah.
It wasn't some weird drawn out plot where you're framing someone to do this, and then like Batman v Superman, it was a mess of plot, but this one they took a little step back and said, hey, let's make it simple and let's make it entertaining.
For me, the good thing about this, I love the Flash. I feel like the Flash and Wonder Woman actually shine in this movie. Just like Dustin, I believe Ben Affleck is the best Batman / Bruce Wayne that ever.
Whoa! I didn't say that. Let's not go that far.
He didn't say it.
I never said that. Don't be.
But I will say it. I will say that I think Ben Affleck is the best Batman and best Bruce Wayne that has been on screen so far. Now, people will be like, no, Christian Bale is, and it's like, if you read The Dark Knight, you understand why. Because this character of this type of Batman is just pulled out of the comics. and he's a better Batman in the sense of, I just like that he can kill.
Categorize it this way: as far as low expectations and exceeding them, he is the best Batman. Ben Affleck is the best Batman ever that I've seen.
Anyways, those are something that I like. Well, the other thing I like, the action of this film was actually on point. It was a good action for what it was. You see Wonder Woman, and that's why they did the reshoot. They put her up front. She's the one that actually takes on Steppenwolf, the very first one to actually fight him, and she held her own. She was actually really good in this one. And you see Aquaman introducing him for his new movie, which I'm very excited about because I think Jason Momoa was actually a really good Aquaman. The other one is, of course, The Flash. I think this movie was hilarious. One of the things that I thought the BVS was missing was that the comedy aspect. There wasn't a lot of comedy, and in BVS it was a lot of forced comedy. But this one had a lot of laugh. The comedy works, and I thought that one of the shining point of that. The Flash, to me, I can't wait for his movie, which should be Flashpoint, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they needed that comic relief.
Yes.
And Ezra Miller just dropped it. It didn't feel feigned. And I was thinking like, oh, the funniest scene is going to be the one they show him where Bruce Wayne goes and throws the Batarang at him. And he's like, I need friends. But that was just one part of many, and the rest of him, he had a great role.
Now,
people laugh.
The other character that people probably don't like as much is Cyborg.
I kind of wish Cyborg had a little bit more action, a little more character development. Because I personally am not familiar with Cyborg.
I don't know anything about Cyborg's backstory.
And I wanted to know more because he seemed like he had a lot of character development off of screen.
He was more of the serious one in the group. Like, he was more, because he had something to prove in the sense of, like, he feels like he's not himself. He's a different person, and something's taking over him. I like this character because he can be serious. He had moments where he was emotional in his acting. He had a moment when he had laughs with the Flash, which I thought was pretty funny when he tried to give him a fist bump. And so you get the sense of who he is as. Anything else that we like about this movie? Anything? The tone. What do you think of the tone?
The tone I thought was perfect.
It had light. You could see things.
It had light, you could see things, but it wasn't a Marvel movie. It was still a little bit gritty, and it was still dark and serious.
That's Josh Whedon.
But it was good.
It was good. All right. If there's there's so much more thing that we can talk about that's good, but no movie is perfect. There's always bad, and let's be subjective about this, boys, because I know you guys are DC fanboy. At least you are, Paul. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about the bad things. What are some things that didn't work in this movie? Something that bothered you?
One thing that I noticed right off I was a little put off by was the pacing. I feel like you can obviously see there's a lot of footage left on the cutting room floor. And if they had put a little bit more into the movie instead of taking it out,
I agree.
It would have been better.
I agree.
The movie still makes sense without it, unlike BVS. But I feel like I would have enjoyed it with more. And another thing, I really, really, really wanted to see the black and silver Superman suit.
Actually, can we?
But I'm fine with that.
Let's stop with the bad. Let's talk about Superman for a second. I didn't ask that question. What do you guys think? Yeah. What do you guys think about his character in this one? What do you think about how he came back alive? What's your thought about Superman?
Perfect.
Perfect.
And that's actually what somebody else, the people I went to see the movie with, they were Superman fanatics, and same thing. They loved how he was introduced. They were afraid he was going to be introduced in a way that just cast him as a villain again, setting him up for like the Injustice saga or something like that. But I thought it was actually, I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was a really clever and creative way to do it. And the scene where he comes back, that was awesome.
That fight scene, let's talk about that.
That fight scene should have had the silver and black suit. I don't know where he would have gotten it. That would have been another,
wardrobe change.
Yeah, right?
I agree.
Who does that?
I thought the fight scene with the Justice League and him was incredible. The way I was like worried about Wonder Woman going up against him, but she held her own. She was pretty good.
Yeah.
But that scene was awesome.
That had maybe one of the best scenes in the entire movie, the most clever scene, which was where he had the two of them, where Superman had both Aquaman.
Three of them, didn't he?
See, whoever he was holding the three of them off.
Yeah.
And then Flash tries to run around, and there's just a very clever camera trick where you see his eyes track with Superman.
I thought that was
that was hilarious.
But that proves to you what a rogue Superman is capable of.
Yeah.
Now, this might be corny, but I'm probably the corny one here. But I love that scene with him and Lois Lane. When Batman says that bring in the big guns. Me and my wife said, I was like, the big gun? What kind of a big gun can you kill Superman with? Unless it's like, I don't know, something that's like that he can get hit with a krypton or anything. But it was Lois Lane. And one of my favorite scenes is when she is trying to pull him back to ground him into becoming the Superman that he should be. I thought that scene was beautiful. I'm pretty sure that was shot by Joss Whedon because Zack Snyder is not good at those kind of emotional scenes.
I didn't quite understand, the background about him fighting the League initially. So I understand that Cyborg's programming targeted him to fight back with him, but I didn't quite understand what was Superman's deal. Did he not remember who he was or what was going on?
I think there was a little bit of part of him that was still dead.
Well, that, and remember when they say that if we do this, we pull him back from this mother box, that something might be lost from him that we can't get back. We'll all agree Superman was awesome.
Right.
So let's get back to the
bad. He was cut in that movie too. He did not take off any time between Batman versus Superman in this film. He was cut. I have new gym goals now.
Let's get back to the bad. So is there anything else that you think that didn't work for you?
I felt like in the beginning it was a little rushed. To assemble the team. I think they could have taken a little bit more time with that. But other than that, like I said, the other things before.
Okay. What about you, Justin?
Okay, so just like kind of bouncing off of Paul's comment right there, in Batman versus Superman, when they introduced all of the characters at once, all of us thought it was a total cop-out, because it was literally like Bruce Wayne has access to a file, he points and clicks, and it's like, boom, here's Aquaman, boom, here's Wonder Woman, boom, here's the Flash. And strangely, that is why I didn't mind the choppiness and the quick introductions in this film, is because even though that was a stupid way for them to do that in Batman versus Superman, it made it more palatable in this film instead somehow. My main criticism of the movie is there was no suspense, and that was because the main villain was a joke. Steppenwolf is, in my opinion, the worst supervillain that you have seen in the DC universe and in the Marvel universe combined.
That is
really
bold.
Because of, I don't know what it was, but his character had no depth and no dimension, and I'm sure there was a backstory, but they didn't really introduce it. And this was also a technical detail. The CGI on him was awful. Like, I don't understand why they didn't just take a real actor and then just do digital makeup on him or something like that.
He was completely CGI, right?
He was totally CGI. No actor whatsoever, just a voice actor on it.
Bad choice. It was alright.
Yeah. But then the other problem is at the end of the film, like when Superman shows up, Superman comes up and punches Steppenwolf, and that's like, okay, suspense is over. Nothing else bad is going to happen. They're gonna save the day. And that was the only main criticism that I have of the film, is that just because of how badly Steppenwolf was portrayed and how they just didn't give his character really any backstory, he was just like, I'm going to conquer the world and I got an axe. I mean, that was it.
I completely agree. Let me bounce off of that. To me, it wasn't more of the suspense. There was nothing at risk. Like, no one's going to die. Everybody, when I watched that movie...
Do you ever feel the world was in peril?
No.
Or do you feel like Justice League's got
They
this?
tried to say that the world was going to be in peril.
Yeah, but we all know when Superman... Once they brought him back, I knew that it was over. Like, you can't fight Superman. He's too powerful. So there was no risk taking. No one dies in this movie. If there was a validity of anything to make this film even better, if it was a risk involved, something happened, something bad happened to someone. There was nothing in this one, and I was really disappointed in that. And so
I agree. I feel like the Justice League should have had a need for some justice. Like, the Avengers had to avenge Phil Coulson.
Yeah.
And that was their motivation. I feel like the Justice League needs to have a little bit of avenging.
wrong movie.
Right.
The other thing I don't like, I agree with these. The CGI is horrible. If you watch Superman in the beginning, you see his mouth. There's a reason why they had a CGI his mustache out, and he just looks weird. Steppenwolf was, just bad CGI. So bad. I feel like there was so much more left on the table. Just like Paul said, there were scenes that I wish that there was more to it. I want more. I would have been okay with this movie being 3 hours. I know it's long, but when a movie is 3 hours, but it got my attention and I'm in the movie, I'm in it. It doesn't seem 3 hours, and so I feel like they could have done so much more. And I hope that we get a special edition with some extra footage in the Blu-ray. I just hope.
So much extra.
I just wish they would go more into the Easter eggs that they had. First of all, what about that Green Lantern? So what's it called?
I like that. That was
Easter
clever.
egg. That was awesome.
And but the problem is how are they going to reintroduce that
Oh my
considering the
gosh.
train wreck that it was when
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds was cast
I don't know.
in that role?
I think they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it
I'm
out.
sure they will.
The other
They did
thing
with Hulk.
Yeah.
they didn't really explain much about the mother box. It just tells you they form and they come in bits. It's like it was kind of like the information about it was just kind of like what? It didn't make any sense. Like
It was part of the plot holes of it.
yeah, it was pretty bad. So, but other than that.
I have a question too about somebody.
Okay.
So, what did you think about the choice of casting J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon?
I thought he was good. I thought
I
he.
thought it was alright.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't get enough of him to see his
And we won't.
ability.
We won't
Yeah,
until the Batman movie. So he'll be in it.
he was the only. I'm thinking about it now. He's the only cast member who kind of feels like it was like, oh hey, we can get J.K. Simmons. What role can we have him play?
Yeah.
How about Commissioner Gordon? Because he really didn't do anything in the story. He just had a couple of quips and he took a phone call and that was it, and then lit the bat signal. I feel like I have been able to give a fair representation, except Paul did make a good point about how I was geeking out first time we saw it, and I was hoping with everything like, please don't suck, so that I was overlooking a lot of things, so when we watch it the second time I may have more, but I
Okay.
feel like this has been an
Let's-
honest share about what happened.
Let's give our score and then a closing remark about this film. What?
So I will give this movie an 8.5
Oh.
because not only have I been really looking forward to this movie, I liked it. I had some issues with the pacing, so that brought the score down a little bit.
Okay.
And I feel like they should have added the extra footage, and that brought the score down a bit. But other than that, loved it.
Okay. I give this movie a 7.5. Now, I know that's not a high score, but it's still, in my opinion, a very good score. Why I give this? Because I feel like it's very entertaining. It's fun. It's a fun movie. You go and see, you will be entertained. I think the Justice League alone, just the Justice League, the heroes, they have good chemistry. It works. The Flash is funny. Wonder Woman is, a bad A. She is such a bad A. Batman's being Batman, the best Batman ever, and I would not change that. Oh, dear. And all in all, it is a good film. Please don't let other critics tell you otherwise. Go see this movie for yourself, and
Don't look at the Rotten Tomatoes.
and you
score.
understand
It's
why.
So dumb.
why
Snobs.
we give these scores. Dustin, what's your score?
My score, I'm going to land right between the two of you and give it a solid 8.
Okay.
And the basic premise of it is because the good feelings that I had watching like Batman the Animated Saga and the animated Justice League, that was kind of how I felt watching it. It's just like feeling like the sense of justice being carried out, the team coming together to fight some common enemy of the earth. And even though there was technical issues in how they did it, the point is I was entertained, and I feel like this was a good representation of the Justice League. So those technical whiners that talk about how it looks like nobody wants to be there, that's what the Justice League founding was. That's how it's always portrayed in the comics. Is it was these reluctant fools who thought, no way, I don't want to work with these guys, but they did, and they got together, and it made a good brand. So that's my review, my sum up.
Cool. So what did you think? Let us know if you've seen it. Give this video a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time for the next movie.
Peace out, everybody.